I'm Lizzy.
And I'm Izzy, and we need help.
Each week we stumble through a new book, method, or concept that brings us one step closer to being our best self.
Yes, we make fun of ourselves.
And others.
But mostly just ourselves. So here's to not taking self-help quite so seriously. Okay. Yeah, no, it was amazing. It was, should we say?
Welcome to We Need Help.
Whatever.
Welcome to We Need Help.
That's Lizzy. I'm Izzy.
And what we're doing this. I'm so excited to hear about your week. Please tell me.
Yeah, no, it was cool. I had the last 3 days I spent in Istanbul. I was delivering a workshop to celebrate the women that are working in sort of more in a man's world. So these are women in tech, like these are women who build, design locomotive engines. I mean, it was just like the coolest group of women. And they were from Egypt and Kazakhstan and South Africa and Poland. And it was just really amazing. So we did like a 1.5 day workshop where we just celebrated being women. We talked about being a woman in a man's world. We talked about how to communicate. We talked about nonviolent communication. And
wow.
We painted, we shared our stories. We shared stories of women that inspire us. It was amazing. And I think one of the most amazing moments was there was a lot of women that were Arabic, and they wear the scarves, on their heads. And
the hijab or hajib.
Hajib. Yeah. And we went to a Michelin restaurant on the Bosphorus River in downtown Istanbul on a rooftop. And it was a Michelin 1-star. Still, it was like wonderful. And it was all us women sitting at tables.
So that's not the tire?
Not the tire.
Okay.
There was a Michelin tire. We all sat around and burned garbage. It's great. So we were all women sitting there, and it was only men serving us. All the waiters were men. And we're sitting there, and there's women in hijabs. And we're just there on the rooftop in a Michelin restaurant with men serving us. It was like amazing. Like I was very moved, and I'm so grateful about that I get to do this type of work. Like, it's just amazing. I was thinking, I'm in Istanbul. Like, I'm in Istanbul on the river. I see Asia across the river.
Wow.
I'm at a Michelin restaurant. I'm being served. This is just, I'm sitting across from my friend who has the head wrap. She's telling me about it. It was wonderful. And, I don't drink, and they don't drink either because of their religion. So it was like a wonderful, wonderful time. Yeah.
Do you, as a non-drinker, do you feel more comfortable around non-drinkers, or are you comfortable around both?
I'm comfortable around both, but there's a point when I'm around drinkers, and if they're heavy drinkers,
they're annoying.
They start getting sloppy, and that just gets annoying because they start shouting and they start just acting like, hey, and I'm just like,
and they're touching you too much, probably
a little.
I don't like when
too
people
much.
touch me.
So it was really amazing. And I just feel like, I don't know, like uplifted. Like, it was really cool. The best part, I think, was today when, for one of the activities, I said, think of a woman that inspires you and then share her story. So everyone was sharing their stories, and there was tears and laughter and very deep conversations. And it was truly magical. So yeah, it was good.
It's so weird. I'm so happy that you got to have that experience, because like Monday, I had almost the same experience. I had these 10 beautiful souls in my house, and we did the ultimate breathing experience with Candace Tranter, which is like an otherworldly experience. And we've done it. I think this is my 5th one, where you like go, basically you breathe. It's breath work and energy work. And it's just incredible. And there were like, I got to tell a couple of miracles that I've gotten out of her work. And then it was just a bunch of women that are willing to talk about deep things.
Yes, exactly. Because we can't do small talk.
Well, we don't want to.
Yeah,
We don't want to, right? I
Yeah.
don't want to do small talk. And it's nice because when you're surrounded by people who are also in scuba gear, you can really swim down deep together
Yeah.
and get to the like it's so healing and empowering. And I just can't say enough. Like when I decided after that experience with that narcissistic friend, that horrible, like draining energy vampire experience, decided that I was going to only put women, or not women, just people in my life that were, you know, or the road goes both ways with that. Like they're going to help make me a better person. Like I'm not just making the person a better person. They're making me a better person. And man, the whole universe is just giving me nothing but it. It's just like
That's awesome.
the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And
So
we're both experiencing the same thing at the same time on opposite ends of the earth. Not that I know where Istanbul is, but give or take.
Does Istanbul even exist?
I know it does because it's in a song.
Yeah, Istanbul, not Constantinople.
Constantinople.
I was sending that to everybody and I got 0 responses. I'm like,
you didn't send it to me. I would have
I know. I'm like, I should have sent it to you because I was sending it to people in Poland. That's why they're like, they're like, it's probably offensive and I don't even know it.
Well, they're offended by everything.
Yeah. So did you have any, like, 'cause sometimes you have these outer worldly experiences when you do these breathing experiences. Did you have anything happen? Did you have any visuals or any
it's so crazy because the first one I had basically I felt actively, because you breathe and it's hard to explain, but you're labor breathing for a very long time. I can't tell you how long.
Really hard. Yeah.
It's really intense. I wouldn't say it's hard. It's intense.
Yeah.
It's like at some point your body is getting all the oxygen that it can take. Like it's got it all. So everything is firing on certain or on its highest levels. And I've experienced basically, I always get, not always, 3 out of the 5 times I've actually gone to, and this is weird because I don't like organized religion. I don't do it. It's not my jam, but I'm always brought to the crucifixion. And I feel like the first time I felt the thorns, then I had the stigmata the next time. And this time I was actually holding under the arms of basically Jesus in like after he was brought off the cross. And I looked out and I had this vision, and it was weird because it said all sisters, like it was all my sisters, all my friend Lena's sisters, every sister that exists in my mind was actually in the crowd that I looked around at.
Wow.
And it was like, yeah, so it was like a sisterhood of these people that were wanting to help me carry the burden.
Wow.
I know. It was like really, really, really powerful this time. Yeah. And like, so it just, I had a vision of this podcast with it.
Oh,
and
tell me.
Yeah. It was just like, carrying the burden together. And like, I mean, you're the most hilarious person I know. I'm obviously the most hilarious person but like just this podcast is carrying that burden together and like holding a space for that within so many people, not just sisters, but it's like just we're walking and carrying the burden together as a conscious, like they're just, all of us are trying to do our best.
Yeah.
And we need help from each other.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. And
That's
everybody
awesome.
had their own experience in it. And it was like amazing. And then I mean, obviously I should bring this up. I did make a beautiful charcuterie board.
I saw the picture. I was like, damn, damn.
That's a Lizzy.
That's a Lizzy. Yeah. Jesus. Charcuterie board. Yeah. You saw Jesus. You carried Jesus. Charcuterie board.
Yeah.
Did you see my charcuterie board? I saw Jesus. No. But did you see Lizzy's charcuterie board?
Yeah.
I'm glad you saw Jesus, but
yeah. Oh my God. But it was good. It was like so good. I hope that everybody, like if they're missing their sisterhood and like their community or whatever, like there are ways to get out there and do it, man.
You just got to connect and that's it. And it's hard sometimes, for women to connect and with each other and just be vulnerable. But when you do it, there's something magic. There's magic that happens. There's something magical about it.
I've always said that there is, at the nail salon, there is hallowed ground underneath it because there is magic to happen at a nail salon when women get together and make themselves better.
Yeah, I agree.
In any way, shape, or form, it just creates a magical space. And I think that's really important. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah. So, thank you for asking to do this book, by the way.
Yeah. Have you been listening to it? Like, what's your?
Well, I love that you asked me like the only one question I didn't want you to ask me. So I listened to it on Blinkist.
Yeah.
Which I'd like to invite Blinkist to invite us to be a sponsor or for them to be a sponsor for our show.
Blinkist. Yes.
Blinkist, please sponsor us because I did it on Blinkist.
Okay.
And if you don't know what Blinkist is, it is an app that basically boils down books like this to their most important. Yeah. So that's what I did.
Yeah. And I'm glad you did that because it was funny because, I practice nonviolent communication in all my training. And so I know it. But Maciek's like, oh, I'm going to listen to it. And he's like, I can't listen to it. He goes, I don't know what it is about the guy's voice. He goes, I know he's written a great book. But Maciek did like the shortened version too, because he just couldn't get through it. So I don't think there's any shame. I don't think there's shame in that.
I would like Blinkist, if you wouldn't mind also making another app and you can I think it should be called Yada Yada.
Yada Yada. Fabulous.
Maybe we should start our own.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like Yada Yada. Don't do this. But it's so funny because so many families, I've actually been listening to the way that families speak to each other now. So many families don't speak. They speak violently to each other because they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And you can see that it's not doing anybody any justice. And I'm wondering how many of us are accidentally creating a violent space for our families.
Well, yeah, because when we think violent communication, we think yelling, or we think, obviously physical violence, like, oh yeah, that's violent communication, but there's less obvious violent communication, right? Which sometimes we're not aware that we're doing. So things like silent scorn, which is like my favorite way of punishing somebody. Like, I'm just not going to talk to him.
Yeah. Pulling away your acceptance,
the silent scorn, mumbling under the breath, sarcasm. There's so many different ways. Blaming,
sarcasm is mine.
Shaming,
sarcasm is mine.
Yeah. Blaming, shaming, dismissing, judging, ignoring, rather than observing. Yeah. There's just so many. So that was interesting to me. And then I realized also through studying nonviolent communication that in a way, not communicating your needs, but communicating them in those types of ways is also like kind of violent. And I realized I wasn't acting like an adult by not communicating my needs, mumbling under my breath or rolling my eyes, or stuff like that. Like that's not being an adult. That's not owning.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of not adulting around.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that Jason punishes me with the ignoring.
Yeah.
you know, and I punish him with the sarcasm and and I pull back.
Yeah.
Like I'll rob him of my attentions.
Yeah.
And Jason just won't make eye contact with the fact that I need anything, especially if I voice a need and he doesn't feel it necessary or want to make eye contact with it. He will just straight up ignore me.
Yeah.
And, you know, not so much in our, you know, this part of our marriage, but it really was bad in, you know, the beginning parts of our marriage. And it still goes on. It's still, I mean, we still have to work on it all the time. Like, you know, oh God, my sarcasm. It is so violent.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love just the premise of nonviolent communication, because it's like, it gives you, it's like empathy for yourself and what you need, and then expressing it in an adult way. And then also empathy for another person, because if they're expressing themselves violently, it's an unmet need. So, you know, Marshall, he just really thinks that all violence stems from unmet needs. You know, they're yelling at you, they're ignoring you or whatever, because they have some part of them that is some need that is not being met. So it's really interesting, because like when people start communicating now, I'm like, I wonder what need is not being met. You know, so that's really interesting, because it helps me like not be so annoyed with them, because I'm like, oh, it's just a need that's not being met. I wonder what that is.
Well, and it's like not putting moralistic judgment on someone who's not acting or behaving the way you want. Like that's bad behavior or good behavior, rather than like kind of unifying and saying, okay, what is that? Where does that stem from? Like getting the curiosity involved. Like sometimes when Jason's like not being connected because I know he detaches and ignores, I'll be like, well, I wonder what he needs. Like where is this coming from? You know, and sometimes I'll just wait and watch and learn. And then I'll be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's violent.
That is violent. Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. That's so funny.
No, seriously. But like saying good or bad about someone is a real, I think, issue right now, because so many people are like on one side of the left or one side of the right, or, you know, like politically right now in this country, at least.
Yeah.
It's like people are so polarized. And I do want to say, if you are on the left or on the right, you are completely fucked up. Is that violent?
That's violent. It's violent. What's so interesting? I had a session with the girls in Istanbul, and I put on the board judgments and observations, and I'm like, do you know the difference? And they were like, you know, and like, you're fucked up. Is that a judgment or an observation?
That's a definite judgment.
They're like, that's a judgment, right? But even judgments like you're a perfectionist, or even judgments like you're awesome, like that's a judgment. So how can we turn that into an observation? And it's real easy. What behavior of yours shows me that you're fucked up, or what behavior of yours shows me that you're a perfectionist, and sticking to the behavior, almost like a lawyer, like observing specific behavior. So rather than saying, I don't know, to somebody like, you're lazy, saying, okay, the last 3 times I asked you to do something, you did not do it, right? And this is how that made me feel.
That's so important.
Yeah. So just sticking to the observation rather than judgment, but it's really, really hard to do.
Yeah,
we go straight to judgment.
I'm a judgmental person in general. Like I like to play a game with myself. I judge and then I don't act upon it and see if I'm right. This is like, it's basically a scissor of the ego. You know, I get to judge and see if I'm right. But seriously, not really. I mean, I don't really care about much, so it doesn't make me a real menace to society, because I just don't give a shit about a lot.
Yeah.
But you know, like observing, like, okay, let's just say, like, for a lot of people, if you're a Republican or a Democrat, instead of saying he's a piece of shit snowflake, or he's a piece of shit what do they call what the left are snowflakes, what are the right?
Don't know.
Like Trump supporter or whatever.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people will say a lot
Hillbilly.
of things. Like,
yeah.
So, I like to say, well, he tends to lean left with his mindset, but that doesn't put the label of, being on the left, or he tends to do, like if you said, like, Jason tends to ignore me if he's not interested in
but
what
even
he's
but
doing.
it's so interesting.
Is that the same?
That is still a judgment. So focusing on specific behavior of Jason that shows you that. So what behavior of Jason, and saying, it was so interesting with the girls because she's like, well, he ignores my emails all the time. And I said, that's a judgment. I said, get specific.
All the time.
So she said, and ignores. So instead of that, how can you make that an observation? She said, okay, the last 4 emails I sent, he did not acknowledge or respond to. I said, that is an observation. There you go. But you ignored my email. You ignore my emails all the time is a judgment. Yeah. It's so interesting. Like, I'm started playing the game. Like, how observant can I be rather than judgmental? And it is so hard.
Yeah, it is hard. So let's so if I said to Scarlett, okay, you don't feed the cats without me asking. Obviously, I would say, Scarlett, the last 3 nights you haven't fed the cats without my asking.
Yes.
How can I help you remember? Yeah. So I don't have to be in charge of that.
What's important,
because I don't want to do that.
Exactly. And what's important here is communicating either your feeling about it or the impact. So, for example, Scarlett, the last 3 nights, you did not feed the cat. The impact of that is the cats are hungry.
I had to remind you.
I had to remind you, and I don't feel good about that. I feel a little bit disrespected, or I feel like you don't want to hear me. Is that right? And then would you be willing to come up with a solution for me so you can remember to feed the cats without me having to ask you? And that is like a great communication.
I'd like to go on record that our cats have been fed without me having to ask. For a lot of nights
have been injured in the recording of this podcast.
So I understand now. Like, Scarlett, you have not fed the cats without prompting for the last 3 nights. I don't want to have to ask you because it makes me feel like I have too much pressure on me at night. I have my own thing. Is that all I have to do? And then I have to say what I want.
You can either, there's sort of
or
2
how
schools.
Can I help you?
There's 2 schools. So there's school of sharing feelings, and then, or there's the school of what impact it has. So I kind of like the impact feeling for whatever reason, because it helps people see the consequences of their behavior. Because I think feelings are overrated anyway, a little bit. So, but it's up to you. You can express how you feel, or you can express what the impact of that was, right? And then, would you be willing to, and then it has to be something specific.
Okay.
Right.
Would you be willing to give away your cats so I don't have to do this anymore?
Yeah, exactly. So here's an example, right? Say husband and wife, the wife is super irritated because the husband is not spending enough time with her, right?
Okay.
So she would say, okay, the last 4 nights you have come home from work at 9 p.m. and I'm already in bed. The impact of that is I'm feeling neglected. Yeah. And then you can express your need as well. I need attention, love, affection from my husband, right? Would you be willing to come home early at least 2 nights a week at 7 p.m.? And that's specific, 7 p.m. early. And then he can either say, yes, I'm willing, or no, I'm really busy right now. And then that opens up the conversation to, okay, well, what can we do here so I can get my needs met?
Well, and so many times, like, it's like, it's a difference between can and will. Like if it's a willingness issue, if if that husband said, I totally miss you. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get home to you. I have so much on my plate.
Right.
Would you bear with me, please?
Yes, because
and I will like, let's eye on the prize, focus on a vacation, and we'll have like 4 days together or something like that.
Yeah, because there's two needs here. Her need may be to have affection and care and, attention and wanting him to be home early so that can happen. Her unmet need might be that she needs that affection, right? But his need might be he wants success at work and he wants to bring home money. So
or he's working on something. He's got some priority that he's really trying to chomp at the bit for.
And but it's just about
and her name is no, I'm just kidding.
I got needs too, bitch.
You might need to take
22 years old. They're just trying to get through
take a lover, honey. Oh my God.
So but it's about two adults communicating their needs. And I'm like, how did I not we're not raised in I guarantee most of us have been raised in violent households. And I've started noticing with my mom, like how and I've asked her this. I'm like, why can't you just ask your husband for that? Like, why can't you express your need?
Is that violent? Is that a violent statement?
I don't know. No, it was just a question because she came to me and she was complaining about something. And I said, well, why don't you just tell him what you need?
Right. I think that's a lot of problem.
She looked at me like I was insane. And what this book did for me is help me stop being the victim. Once again, I became accountable for getting my needs met by communicating them. I am responsible for getting my needs met by communicating them in a nonviolent manner.
Well, something it did for me is like, okay, my needs are still my fault. The fact that I have needs and there's someone around me that I am requiring from, I still am accountable for my own needs.
Yeah.
Like if I'm that girl or that wife at home that's being seriously neglected, there's still her needs. Like, she very well could take on her own lover.
Right. If that's what she wants. But here's
right. I'm just saying, no, I'm just saying like in seriousness.
But this is what people do though. It's so funny. They don't communicate with their partners about their needs. They just go take a lover, right? Instead, rather than saying, I need sex, I need affection, I need this. These are the needs I have and I need these to be met. Can we figure out a way to meet these needs? But people take shortcuts because they're afraid to communicate.
And I think so many people get offended that they're not honored.
Yeah.
Before they ask for honor. Like, like they I think, and I'm guilty of this myself. I'll be like, okay, like I want to feel, I have a need to feel very important in my home because that's what I want for everyone. Like, that's what I want for myself and for everyone in my home. I want everyone to feel, but like, if I feel like that isn't happening, I'm already offended.
Yeah.
Before even like anybody notices, I'm the first to see to feel the need. And then I'm the first to get offended because it's not like the other people haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, ugh.
Yeah. It's something, I had to work on too. Like I suddenly realized like people aren't mind readers. People don't see things my way. And it's up to me to be an adult and communicate what I need, but really often we just want people to, they should know. It's obvious. They should know. They should just know. And it's like, okay, Isabel, just be an adult and just say, hey, but it's hard to even identify.
But don't you get offended? You've been around this person for over a decade and you're like, okay, or 2 decades or 3 decades. And you're like, you know what I need. I haven't changed. But it just, I think that's where people's ego get involved and they're like, okay. And I think that like so many times, and this is where the empathy comes in and the, compassion comes in, like everyone's life is happening to them. And sometimes they're overwhelmed in things that really we don't even know about, even after being together for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes like we weren't there when they were 3 years old and they got, hurt or, had trauma, and that's coming back in some way. I think that like we don't give our loved ones enough room and space to have their own trauma and have their own growing period.
Yeah. And very often, I think that's a really nice, like what you said just made me think it's a really nice question to ask. Like, what do you need from me? You know, and then like, what do you need? When somebody's acting out, because we very often do not do that. When people are acting out, we punish them instead.
Yeah.
Instead of
I'm pitting out.
Holding them. You're what?
I'm pitting out.
Oh, I'm cutting out. Oh, let me see.
Pitting out.
Like you're pitting out.
Like sweating. Why?
Do you need deodorant?
I guess I do.
Do you need antiperspirant?
I guess I do. I never wear that stuff.
You don't wear deodorant?
Mm-mm.
Oh, well,
I like my natural musk.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned that. You like your natural musk.
I like the smell of me.
You're wondering why people are uncomfortable in your house. Damn. Shit's ripe.
Like Jason's like, I need you to put on deodorant. I'm like, not gonna happen. Not willing.
I'm not willing to do that. Sorry.
Not willing.
My need is for my armpit to be deodorant free.
Yeah, I'd like to sniff myself. Oh, that's a weird one, but I don't care. Yeah. What were we saying?
Just how when people act out, we tend to punish them rather than ask them what they need.
Yes, so many times. Yeah. And I think that like with our family members especially, it's like, okay, first of all, they're people. They're not just our loved ones. Second of all, they're changing.
Yeah.
All the time. Like we have to let our family members change.
Yes.
And we have to. That's so bad that we don't do that.
It's so funny that you said that, because Maciek, stuff that didn't bother me when we were first together really bothers me now. And it's so hard because he has a hard time accepting it. But some things are no longer acceptable to me. And because I've changed, I've grown, and I've like stopped being such a pleaser, and I've stopped being such a, so like there's certain things that I didn't like them in the beginning, but I never voiced it because I was such a people pleaser.
Or maybe you just didn't like say it. Yeah. You didn't acknowledge it in yourself. You're like,
yeah. And now I'm really secure with myself. I know what I want. I know what I need. And it's really difficult because he's like, this never bothered you before. And I'm like, well, and we just don't allow for that,
Yeah, we can change. We're allowed to change. And we're definitely allowed to change our mind.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do that anymore. And like, we can say that to our family members. And I think that should be acceptable. Is like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like I had my sister who, I love more than anybody.
Yeah.
She has such a abrupt way of communicating, which has gained her the nickname of Chuck Norris. Like it's her superpower. She's just comes in.
Her communication is a roundhouse kick to the face.
Yes. And I had to tell her it actually makes me extremely uncomfortable when it's in a group setting. Like she could say anything to me.
Yeah.
Like anything. Like she says, one time she said, because I refuse to read emails, as you know.
Yes.
She said, you know what you should do? You should just tell people you can't read. And then I laughed about it for so long. And I said, Katie, that is one of the funniest things you've ever said. And she goes, well, you can't. She like said, I can't read. I would like to go on record by saying I can read.
Barely.
I don't like to do it. I can do it. But like, so she's very like that. But when she's like that to like our other family members around me in front of me,
Yeah.
I actually like get nauseous.
Mm.
And I told her that. I said, it's not you, it's me. I get really sick feeling when you like when that is happening in a group setting. And she took it like so well. Like,
yeah. Well, because I think you
she
communicated it in a way that was, you didn't say,
say it,
I need you to shut the fuck
nonviolent.
up or whatever, but you said like the behavior and how you feel about it and what you need. And then like, you know, the next step
Yeah,
is
and
probably like, would you be willing to like speak a little differently or like when you're around groups of people, would you be willing to maybe tone it down a bit or something? Whatever that
it physically gives me hives,
Yeah.
you know, and
Ooh.
she doesn't mean to do it. But because of my like maybe some trauma from our past, I'm not able to let that go yet, and I'm working on it. But until I do, like I just don't know if I can like, you know, and my sister wants the best for me. And knowing that about the people around you is really important.
Yeah.
If she came to me with anything like that, I would honor it. I don't, you know, and she did the same thing for me. But I think it's really important to like also assume that everyone around you wants the best for you.
Mm.
Don't you think that's the best thing?
Yeah. It's just, yeah. And I I heard this speaker once. He said, when people tell you something, just believe them. It's easier. You know,
I love
and
that.
I just love that because like, oh, she's lying. Like, it's none of my business. I'm just going to choose to believe it. And if I find out it's a lie, I find out it's a lie, but I'm not going to try to figure it out, you know?
Well, and I think that happens a lot with siblings. Like you'll look at each other and you're like, okay, you used to be this bitch and now you're trying to be this bitch.
Oh my God.
And
My brother has that
bullshit.
so bad. Like he's like, you used to be a junkie and now you're like, and I'm like, yeah,
I changed.
I did.
I put on different panties too.
Yeah.
You know, like we're allowed to change day by day, just like anybody else. Our family members are allowed to change day by day, and they're allowed to wait for it, get better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's hard for people who feel fucking superior.
Mm-hmm.
Or even worse, it's harder for people who feel inferior.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, let's let each other get better. Let's give us space for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and she said, you know, you don't want to like ice somebody out to the point they have no options.
Yeah.
You know, like give people the options to get better.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
Anyway, good stuff in this book, man. Just really good stuff.
It was so good. Thank you for it. It was really what I needed to hear. I'm going over my notes now, which I think are as long as the Blinkist. I just was taking notes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do think.
Oh, go ahead.
I do think that establishing the human connection first before you become defensive was a really cool tool.
Yeah.
So like if you're just, if somebody says, you know, something you completely disagree with, like I shouldn't, what do I believe in? Is there anything?
Abortion.
Okay. So the right to an abortion. I need to like be clear. I'm no longer saying we should require abortions.
They should no longer be mandatory.
But if you said, I don't think we should have the right to abortions, I might say, you know, I think we all find human life important. First establishing that we have some ground that we are able to stand on together.
Yeah.
And then going from there. Like you know what? I love that you find human life important. So do I. Just like that little statement is such a game changer, because too many times you're not even like announcing what you're doing before you go into the, you know, kicking somebody's ass in verbally.
Yeah. I mean, we experienced it, and when we put out that, the cancer episode, and we got like all these like people just attacking us straight away, and like it was all
We got
violent
ramrodded.
There was
got ramrodded.
Zero foreplay, zero lube. They went in dry. Okay.
They went in straight up
straight dry.
No kissing.
Nothing.
Nothing.
So yeah, but I love that. And it's just about that heart to heart connection, like trying to connect with their heart, your heart and their heart, that's hard to do.
Yeah. It's just like just establishing some sort of connection before you like ramrod somebody.
Good stuff though. Yeah. I like this author. I read a little bit about him. So he's from Detroit, which I love the Midwesterners. They always come up with the best stuff.
And something about Detroit too. I love Detroit.
Yeah. Yeah. And he said he grew up in violence. Like he was beaten by the police when he was a teen. But then he went to U of Michigan. He got a PhD in clinical psychology. He went to the University of Wisconsin. Like he's like right there,
Oh, he was all over that Midwest.
Yeah. And then he was a cab driver. Like he worked with civil rights activists. He's just a cool guy. And then he came up with this nonviolent communication. And he's just like, all violence stems from people's unmet needs and feeling like they have to punish the other side for their own unmet need. It's cool. Yeah. And it's all about like honestly communicating your needs and then showing empathy to other people. It's just like, it sounds so simple, but it is just not easy. Oop, are you there? Oh, you paused for a second. No. Where did you go?
Where did you go now? Where did you go? Oh,
sweet child of mine.
Sweet child.
Oh. So anything else what did you take out of the book for yourself? Like, I think you mentioned it. You're just kind of observing too more like what is violent communication. It's so interesting after reading this because I see violent communication everywhere now.
Well, I was seeing it anyway. I was feeling it like something, that I've been relying a lot more on since like for the last couple of years is my feeling, like sensing.
Yeah.
And so, but just number one, asking for what I need anyway is really important. And then, I think it's really important that, like for me, I won't say what I need. And I'll just try to manipulate everyone for their good, for their own good. I'm not trying to like Hannibal Lecter them into like, eating their own tongue. I'm really trying to do what's best for everybody. But like, just asking for what I need, just waiting, not dealing with all that bullshit and just saying what I need.
Yeah.
And another thing I want to say with this nonviolent communication, for those of us who hold everything in and don't say anything, I think sometimes it is okay to lose your shit. I think there are a few women out there that don't lose their shit often enough.
They need to. Yeah.
They need to. Because if you're angry, it's okay to be angry.
Yeah. Anger shows you that you have a need.
Yes.
Anger is important. You need anger. It shows you that if you're angry, there's a need that's unmet. So it's brilliant that you're angry.
Yeah. It's not a weakness.
No, it's normal. It's human. We're supposed to be angry. And anger is just like, oh, okay, there's a need that's not being met. That's why I'm angry.
Yeah. I have needs.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. It's so really like great. If you're angry, do jot down what you actually need.
Yeah.
So you are able to like, I think that's a big one for me. Jot down my needs.
Yeah.
And I also think like, listening to my body when it's not comfortable is really important in communicating as well.
Yeah.
And that's when you go into observation mode. Okay, what is bothering me?
Yes.
What is happening?
Yeah.
Like, why is this bothering me? What do I need?
Yeah.
What did you get out of the book? But I mean, you talk about nonviolent communication. Like I talk about,
I do it all the time.
Probiotics.
Yeah.
Gut health.
But I think what it's done for me in the recent months is a couple things. So really making me accountable and really not blaming other people for my unmet needs. So really making me accountable. And then I think being okay with having needs and getting them met.
Ooh. Because it is okay to have needs. Yes.
Because I think, especially as women, we often deny needs.
Agreed.
And it's like, oh no, I do have this need and I will get it met. And it is up to me as an adult to figure out how that needs to be met, and communicating that. So I no longer feel guilty that I have needs, bad about that.
No.
And I also had to figure out what our needs, because it's not like,
well, sexual needs.
Yeah.
Like women cannot talk about their sexual needs, but men are fine. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, for me, it's figuring out what a need is. Like telling Monchek, I need you to shut up is not a need. A need is I have a need for silence.
Okay. Well, hold on. I need to check that one off my list.
Yeah. I have a need for silence or peace or calm. And figuring out what those needs are, right? It's not about the other person. It's about what does my body need? What does my soul need? So I actually Googled like a list of needs and like, oh, there's a need for peace, for security, for serenity. There's all these for love, for affection, so just figuring that out. So that was interesting to me too.
Okay.
Figuring out.
I love that.
Like
fun,
in, like,
excitement.
Yeah. Play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything to do with like, I think that our need to be creative is something that we need to explore a lot, especially as women.
Yeah.
But as all people, like creativity is really important too.
Yeah. So I got that out of it. And then more empathy with myself. Cause I call you sometimes and I'm like, I feel so guilty. I feel so bad. And you like recently took me off the edge. You're like, you have needs and you needed those needs to be met, and just be good to yourself and more empathetic. And so empathy towards self, which I think also as women, as people, we're very self-critical. Yeah. We are our worst critics, and just stop doing that, stop it.
And finding a way to be proud of yourself for meeting a need is a huge deal. Like, you can frame, like you're allowed to frame what happens to you the way that you want. And I know both of our inner voices can be cunts.
Yeah.
But they can.
Yeah.
Like
punishing, very punishing.
Oh, very nasty.
Yeah.
Like the sarcasm that I give outwardly is nothing compared to the dirty bitch that's inside.
Yeah.
But so that's such a good point. Like if we could just tell that nasty talker inside to reframe it and or say, this is the need that you had, and next time you're going to fulfill that need so this doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Or you're going to do more of it, or whatever it is.
Oh. All right. Well, on that note, it's been a wonderful episode. The book is Nonviolent Communication: A Language of Life by Marshall B. Rosenberg. Pick up the Blinkist version.
The Blinkist.
Blinkist.
So I want to bring up another one that we should do, and this is just an idea. It's by Malcolm Gladwell.
Yes,
it's called Talking to Strangers.
Yes.
Okay, that's what we're doing. What we should know about the people we don't know.
Yes, that's our next book. Yay!
Yes, that is our next book. So because it's apparently humans aren't great judges of character.
I talk to strangers all the time too.
I do too.
All
And
the
we
time,
often-
everywhere.
Yes. So let's do this and see if we can start evaluating people a little bit better, because I think what we're going to find out is 99% of the people that we meet are actually good.
Amazing.
And I'm like, yeah, I want to feel that. I want to feel that when I'm out in the world.
Cool. All right. So that's
Yeah.
our next book. Yay. Love
Well,
you
I love
so
you.
much.
Love you. See you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday. Bye.
Yay! Thanks for joining us this week on We Need Help, the podcast, the duct tape of self-help.
Please visit our website, weneedhelpthepodcast.com, where you can find links to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and all the others, so you'll never miss a show.
You'll also find links to the books we've reviewed and our amazing store.
If you enjoy this podcast, go right now, because if you're anything like us, you'll never do it later. Like and share our page and episodes on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or just tell a friend about the show. That would help us out too.
Also, feel free to let us know what you need help with, and we'll try to cover it in a future episode. You can also find us on Instagram at weneedhelp_the podcast.
Thank you for listening.